Can I tell you something that's going to sound weird at first, but stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand yourself or someone you love in a way you never have before. If you were the good kid growing up, you are not okay. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way. I mean it in a very real, very quiet, very hidden in plain sight kind of way. And the scary part? Nobody around you even noticed, because you were too busy being easy to love. Sit with me for a second. Think back. Were you the kid who never slammed doors? The one who got good grades without being asked twice? The one who said, "I'm fine," so many times that even you started to believe it? The one adults pointed to and said, "Why can't you be more like them?" If that's you, I need you to hear this. What looked like your greatest strength growing up might actually be the reason you're struggling right now. And today, we're going to talk about why. Let's start with the part nobody tells you. Being the good child was never really about being good. It was about being safe. Somewhere, very early, you learned a rule, and you probably didn't even learn it with words. You learned it with a look, a silence, a tension in the house. And the rule was this: if I don't cause problems, I won't become one. Psychologists actually have a term for this. It's called the good child syndrome. And researchers who study child development, people like Dr. Gabor Mate, have talked for years about how children in stressful or emotionally unpredictable homes often adapt by becoming hyper-compliant. Not because they're naturally calm, but because calm keeps them safe. Compliance becomes armor. Think about that for a second. A child learning to armor themselves, not with anger, not with rebellion, with obedience. And here's where it gets scary. That armor doesn't come off when you turn 18. It doesn't come off when you move out. It doesn't come off when you get your first job, your first apartment, your first relationship. It just changes shape. It follows you into adulthood wearing a different name. Maybe you know it as people-pleasing. Maybe you know it as, "I just don't like conflict." Maybe you know it as, "I'm just a low-maintenance person." But underneath all of that, if you dig even a little, it's the same scared kid, still trying not to become a problem. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt guilty for resting? Like actual physical guilt just for sitting still and doing nothing? That's not laziness-related guilt. That's a nervous system that was trained to associate stillness with danger. Because in your house, maybe stillness meant somebody would notice you, and being noticed wasn't always safe. Here's another one. Do you struggle to say what you actually want? Like someone asks, "Where do you want to eat?" and your brain just goes blank and you say, "Anywhere is fine." That's not indecisiveness. That's a person who learned very young that having needs was inconvenient for everyone else. So you stopped voicing them. Eventually, you stopped even noticing them. This is the part that gets me every time I read the research on this. A study published in the Journal of Family Psychology found that children who take on a caretaking or peacekeeping role early in life, sometimes called parentified children, often grow into adults who struggle to identify their own emotional needs because their entire emotional radar was pointed outward toward everyone else for survival. Not for love, for survival. Read that again. Not for love, for survival. Because here's the thing about being the good child. It usually comes from a home where love felt conditional. Maybe nobody said it out loud. Nobody had to. You just felt it. Be easy and you're safe. Be difficult and something shifts. So you became easy. Not because you were naturally easygoing, because you were quietly terrified of what would happen if you weren't. And that terror, it doesn't just disappear. It becomes your personality. People call you so mature for your age. They call you the responsible one. They call you an old soul. And every single one of those compliments is quietly describing a child who had to grow up faster than they should have. Now, here's where I want you to really pay attention, because this is the part almost nobody talks about. The good child doesn't just lose their childhood. They lose the ability to be seen struggling. Think about that. If you spent your whole life being the one who's fine, what happens the day you're actually not fine? Who do you call? Who do you let in? Because everyone around you has a version of you in their head, and that version doesn't cry. That version doesn't fall apart. That version handles it. So you keep handling it, alone, every time. There's a psychological concept called masking. And while it's talked about a lot in the context of neurodivergence, therapists increasingly recognize it in good children too. The constant, exhausting performance of being okay, layered so deep that even you sometimes forget it's a performance. And this is the scariest part of all. The mask doesn't just hide your pain from other people. Eventually, it hides it from you. Let me give you something real to sit with. Maybe you're the friend everyone calls when they're falling apart. You give incredible advice. You show up at 2 a.m., you hold space for everyone's chaos. But when your life is falling apart, you go quiet. You handle it in private. You don't want to be a burden, because somewhere deep down, that old rule is still running. Don't be difficult. Don't be too much. Don't become a problem. Maybe you're in a relationship right now where you always apologize first, even when you didn't do anything wrong, just to end the tension faster. Maybe you've said it's okay through gritted teeth more times than you can count. Maybe you've built an entire adult life around not rocking the boat, and you've never once asked yourself, whose boat am I even protecting? Here's a truth that might sting a little. Being the good child wasn't really a personality trait. It was a survival strategy that worked so well, it convinced you it was who you are. But here's the good news, and I promise there is good news. The nervous system that learned to survive by disappearing can also learn something new. Researchers in attachment psychology, including work built on the foundations of Dr. John Bowlby's theories, have shown that these patterns, as deep as they run, are not permanent sentences. They're adaptations, and adaptations can be updated, slowly, safely, with awareness. The first step is simply this: noticing. Noticing when you say, I'm fine, and you're not. Noticing when you shrink your needs to keep the peace. Noticing that tiny flash of guilt when you finally say no to something. That guilt isn't proof you're doing something wrong. It's proof that the old rule is finally being challenged. You were not put on this earth to be easy. You were not born to manage everyone else's comfort at the cost of your own. Somewhere along the way, a scared kid made a very smart decision to survive a hard situation. And that decision worked. You survived. But surviving and living are not the same thing. So if you recognized yourself in any part of this, I want you to actually pause for a second, right now, wherever you are, and just say quietly to yourself, it's allowed to be hard for me too. Because it is. It always was. If this made you feel something, if even one part of this felt like someone finally said the thing out loud that you've been carrying quietly for years, I'd really love it if you stayed close. Hit subscribe, not because I need a number to go up, but because there's a lot more of this waiting for you. And honestly, I think you need to hear it as much as I need to say it. We're just getting started, and I don't want you to miss what's coming next. Take care of yourself today. You've earned that, finally.